If you've ever felt trapped in that endless top 40 loop, you know the feeling. Same songs, same sounds, same safe choices. Like the world hit repeat and lost the button to try something new. Today, I want to introduce you to a crew that's built to do the exact opposite. Change the station entirely. Bullet and Flight is based right in the heart of the 505, Albuquerque, where the green chili runs hot and the creative energy somehow runs even hotter. And when I say Bullet and Flight, I'm not talking about one single project or one single vibe. Think of it more like a parent company to a whole family of artistic misfits. People who don't fit neatly into the usual boxes, and honestly, don't want to. At the center of everything is a mission that's pretty simple to say, but not always easy to pull off. Elevate the voices that usually get talked over. The artists who get labeled too niche, or too different, or that weird one, too Albuquerque. Whatever that's supposed to mean. If you've ever heard something like that about your work, this is your invitation to pull up a chair. Because that's not a deal breaker here. That's the whole point. Bullet and Flight is built around inclusivity, creative community building, and giving underrepresented artists the megaphone they deserve. Not as a trend, not as a marketing angle, but as the core identity. It's a response to a creative world that can feel gated, filtered, and overly polished, where the most interesting voices get told to tone it down so they can be easier to sell. And here's where it gets fun. Bullet and Flight doesn't believe in staying in one lane. Because why would you?
Why drive a sedan when you could take a spaceship?
The whole approach is more like, what does human expression look like across every format? And then going after all of it. Let's start with music, because that's a major part of the DNA. The mindset here isn't pick a genre and stay in it. It's more like, what's the vibe, and does it hit? That can mean the spiritual charge of gospel, the late-night pulse of house music, the smooth storytelling and emotion of R&B, or even that classic country charm where life falls apart but somehow the drink is still cold. It's not about fitting into a category. It's about making something that feels alive. But it doesn't stop at music. There's a strong dedication to the spoken word too. Podcasts that get into the real stuff, not just surface-level chatter, and poetry that doesn't play nice. The kind that lands heavy, the kind that says what people avoid saying, the kind that reminds you words can still be dangerous in the best way. Then there's film and TV writing. Getting into scripts that actually have a heartbeat. Not another recycled reboot of a reboot. Not something designed by committee to offend the fewest people possible. The focus is on stories with soul. Stories with perspective. Stories that sound like they came from real lives, in real places, with real edges. And of course, the stage.
Because there is nothing like live performance.
It's unpredictable, it's electric, and yeah, anything can happen. And usually does. The stage is where art stops being an idea and becomes a moment, right in front of people who can feel it in real time. So why would an artist want to plug into something like this? Because being a starving artist has been romanticized for way too long, and it doesn't need to be the default. And being a lonely artist, trying to build everything by yourself, with no village, no network, no support, That's even worse. Bullet and Flight is about building that village on purpose. The goal is to take the talent that's been brewing in the Southwest, often overlooked, often underestimated, and project it outward. Not in a please notice us kind of way, but in a we're already here, and we're bringing the whole sound with us kind of way. Bullet and Flight positions itself as a launch pad, a safety net, and the hype you didn't realize you were missing. And let's be honest, a lot of people are tired of gatekeepers. Tired of needing permission. Tired of feeling like they have to sand down everything interesting about their work to be taken seriously. If that's you, this is a space that's built for finding your tribe. People who want loud, weird, real art, and who aren't afraid to make it together.
If you want to get in the mix, Deombase is https://justdominic.
And if you want the visuals, you can find the YouTube channel at Just Dominic Music. Bullet and Flight Music, LLC is the company behind it all. And the invitation is open. Check out what's being built, listen to what's coming out, and if you're ready to change the station, this is a good place to start.
Inside Out on Bullet and Flight Radio. Real discussions with mental wellness professionals.
Hello and welcome to Bullet in Flight Radio. Your story, our station. I'm Dr. Emma Kolich, PhD sociologist and licensed therapist. If this message speaks to you, share it with somebody who needs it, because today we're dealing with something that's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Our topic is the Chameleon Saint, redefining strength, witness, and masculinity. This is not just a church talk. It's a case study sitting right at the intersection of sociology, theology, lived church experience, and the psychology of masculinity. And I want you to listen closely, because what I'm describing is more common than people admit. Years ago, I met a friendly brother from church who told me a story that stuck with me. He described a seasoned church leader in Detroit, a co-pastor, a deacon type, somebody who knew scripture, knew how to pray, knew how to serve. But outside of church, around certain people, he would switch up. He would code switch his holiness. Not his vocabulary, not his accent, his holiness. In church, one version of him. On the block, another version of him. And the motive wasn't random. The motive was survival. He wanted to keep street credibility. He didn't want anyone to see him as soft. He didn't want anyone to see him as weak. That's what I want to talk about. The spiritual danger of living with two faces. Some people call it code switching. Sociologists have language for it. Psychologists sometimes describe a survival mechanism that looks two directions at once. A Janus face. And yes, in a historically racial context, we can understand why people learn to do this. But even if it's understandable, it can still be spiritually destructive. So let's walk through this in a clear way. I'm going to lay out a diagnosis, then we'll bring in ancient wisdom from the Ethiopian tradition, then we'll redefine toughness, we'll talk about why vulnerability is such a crisis for men, and finally we'll end with a practical action plan. Part 1, the diagnosis. What looks like protective deception? Before I correct the behavior, I want to validate the reality behind it. That co-pastor is a product of Detroit. He's a product of a certain era. And if you grew up in some environments, you learned early that softness can cost you. Kindness can be interpreted as weakness. Calmness can be interpreted as fear. And faith can be interpreted as you being an easy target. So when that man tells his son something like, "If they knew I was a Christian, they'd think I'm weak," that's not really a theological lesson. That's a trauma response dressed up as wisdom. That's a survival instinct trying to raise a child. But here's the problem. He's built a false split in his mind, a dichotomy. In his thinking, holiness equals vulnerability, and worldliness equals armor. Holiness is what you wear when you're safe. Worldliness is what you wear when you're in danger. And once a man believes that, he starts treating his witness like it's an obstacle. like being openly Christian would ruin his relationships, or ruin his access, or ruin his social standing in the neighborhood. But spiritually it's backwards. His silence doesn't save those relationships. It actually enables destruction. When people are bragging about petty crime, about harm, about chaos, and he's laughing along, nodding along, acting impressed, he's not just being polite. He is validating it. He is co-signing it. And I need to say this clearly. There is a difference between meeting people where they are and hiding who you are. Meeting people where they are means you enter their world with your light turned on. Hiding who you are means you enter their world and shut your light off so you can blend into the dark. That's why the key takeaway in this first section is simple. You cannot be salt if you lose your savor just to blend into the dirt. You can't preserve anything if you're determined to disappear. Part 2. Ancient Wisdom and the Ethiopian Canon. Now let's bring in a stream of wisdom that doesn't get enough attention in many Western conversations. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo tradition and the broader Ethiopian biblical canon, which includes writings many Christians have heard of but rarely read, like Enoch and Jubilees, along with a broader inclusion of books like Sirach and Maccabees. Whether you grew up with those texts or not, the wisdom in them hits this situation directly. They challenge this idea that you can pretend your way into influence without paying a spiritual cost. First, consider the book of Sirach, also called Ecclesiasticus. Sirach has a blunt way of telling the truth about companionship and moral contamination. The idea is simple. If you handle pitch, don't act surprised when it stains your hands. If you stay in fellowship with pride, don't act surprised when pride reshapes you. In other words, you don't get to sit around casual crime talk, laugh at it, mirror it, and then claim it has no effect on your spirit. Ancient wisdom says the stain transfers. The atmosphere shapes you. The jokes you laugh at start to disciple you. And notice the deeper issue. The co-pastor thinks that mimicking these people will earn him credibility, so he can eventually help them. But ancient moral wisdom warns that the more common outcome is the opposite. You don't convert them. You slowly become them. And you call it strategy. Second, think about the Maccabean tradition, especially the story of Eleazar. Here is an old man, a scribe, somebody with a reputation, somebody the younger people watched. He was pressured to eat pork, and some people who actually cared about him tried to give him a loophole. They basically said, "Bring your own meat. Pretend it's the pork. Make it look like you complied so you can stay alive." And Eleazar refused. Why? Not because he didn't understand self-preservation. Not because he didn't understand fear. But because he understood witness. He understood that if he performed a fake compromise to stay socially safe, young people would read it as approval. They would learn hypocrisy. They would learn that faith is a costume you remove when it gets dangerous. So he chose to suffer rather than teach the next generation a lie. Ladies, this is a real man. Now look at the contrast. The weak Detroit deacon is doing the very thing Eleazar rejected. He is performing a version of himself that signals, "I'm with you," when he is called, no, commanded to be different. He's pretending to be something he isn't, not an agent of salvation of someone else's soul, but to protect his own social safety. This is a great sin against God. Third, let's talk about the core concept many people associate with Ethiopia's tradition. Tewahedo. The word carries the sense of unity, of oneness, of being made whole. In Ethiopian theology, it's famously tied to the unified nature of Christ, divinity and humanity, not split into separate operating modes. And here's the application. A Christian man cannot live with a church nature and a street nature that function independently. That is spiritual schizophrenia. That is double-mindedness. The call is integrity, unity, wholeness. If your spirituality only survives under church lighting, but collapses the moment you're around addicts, hustlers, criminals, and broken people, then what you have is not deep formation. It's performance. It's an outfit. It's a Sunday mask. Now let's move to the next section because this is where people start pushing back. They say, "But Doc, you don't understand. You gotta be tough." Alright, let's talk about toughness. Part 3, Redefining Toughness. We need to rescue this word from the streets and bring it under the kingdom of God. Because on the streets, toughness usually gets defined in narrow ways. The ability to be violent, the willingness to retaliate, the absence of emotion, the ability to intimidate. That's the street definition. But in God's kingdom, toughness isn't posturing. Toughness is fortitude. It's endurance. It's the ability to stand in the truth when the truth costs you something. And let me address another misunderstanding. Is toughness male only? Absolutely not. The Bible is full of women whose courage would embarrass a room full of so-called hard men. If you consider the Ethiopian context, think about Queen Makeda, the Queen of Sheba, as she's portrayed in the Kabra Nagas tradition. A ruler with authority, a seeker of wisdom, a woman who doesn't give away her sovereignty just because someone tries to impress her. That's toughness. Or consider the biblical accounts of Jael, who brought an end to Sisera, and Esther, who walked into the king's court uninvited, risking her life to speak for her people. Their toughness wasn't about looking dangerous. It was about standing firm when the status quo demanded silence. Now bring that back to our Detroit pastor and deacon. His idea of toughness is blending in so nobody targets him. But let's call it what it is. That's fear dressed up like wisdom. That's self-protection masquerading as strategy. The kingdom view flips it. Kingdom toughness means you can stand out without needing to start a fight. Kingdom toughness means you can hold your moral ground while the environment around you shifts and pressures you. It takes more courage, not less, to look at a table full of men bragging about theft, chaos, and destruction and say, "I love y'all, but I'm not celebrating that. I serve a God of justice, and I want better for you." That takes guts. It's easier to laugh along. It's easier to be a spectator. It's easier to be an audience. Real toughness is the ability to refuse the script. Part 4. The crisis of vulnerability in men. Now let's talk about why so many Christian men struggle here, especially in environments where masculinity is constantly being policed by other men. One reason is what I call the Jesus is nice fallacy. Men are often shown a version of Jesus that's basically harmless. A gentle moral teacher who would never raise his voice, never confront corruption, never challenge power. But that's not the whole Christ. Yes, Jesus is compassionate, but he also turned over tables in the temple. He confronted hypocrisy in public. And when he stood silent before Pilate, that wasn't weakness. That was controlled strength. That was authority that didn't need to perform. And then you add cultural lies on top of that. The lie that nice equals soft. The lie that gentleness equals being a sissy. So men start thinking the only way to be respected is to be hard, cold, and aggressive. Another reason is the fear of ostracization. The deacon isn't just afraid of losing friends. He's afraid of being removed from the informal fraternity of the neighborhood. He wants to keep his membership card. He wants to still be one of the boys. And if we're honest, for some men that identity is more precious than sonship in God. They would rather be approved by the block than claimed by the Father, because the block feels immediate, and God feels abstract when your faith isn't deep. Which brings me to another reason, spiritual imposter syndrome. Some men hide their faith because they're not sure it will stand up under scrutiny. They worry that if they speak too boldly, someone will test them, question them, challenge them, and expose how inconsistent they've been. So instead of growing, they hide. So what's the solution? The solution is not learning to act harder. The solution is rediscovering meekness. Meekness, the Greek word praus, does not mean you are weak. Historically, it describes strength under control, like a warhorse fully trained. That animal has the power to trample and kill, but it responds to the rider. It is not out of control. It is disciplined. That is the image of a tough Christian man. He may understand the streets. He may know the game. He may have the capacity to respond with aggression, but his power is bridled by the Holy Spirit. He doesn't perform violence to prove manhood. He doesn't perform sin to prove credibility. He's strong enough to be governed. Part 5. Action plan and conclusion. Now let's get practical. What do we actually do with this? Because if we only diagnose the problem, we leave people stuck. So here's the prescription. First, correct the lesson in the household. Is it wise to teach your children? Hide your Christianity so nobody thinks you're weak? No, because what that really teaches is this: God is a Sunday costume and the world is the real world. Church is what you do, but the streets are who you are. A better lesson sounds like this. The world will pressure you to be like them, but true strength is daring to be different. If people reject you because of your devotion to God, you've suffered for righteousness. But if people accept you because of your mask, they don't actually know you. God doesn't know you and you will eventually forget you too. Second, change how you handle those so-called friends. I'm not telling the co-pastor to abandon people. Ministry often happens around broken people. Jesus ate with sinners. But notice, he never had to pretend to be one. In other words, he never dimmed his light. So the dynamic has to shift. The next time they start bragging about theft or trouble or hurting people, the pivot might sound like this: I'm not on that anymore. I used to laugh at that, but since I found peace in Christ, it just sounds like unnecessary trouble. I want better for you. That was the test. I wonder if the deacon ever thought of it like that. You were placed amongst those who needed light, truth. But when it was time to shine, he became a true coward. The pastor/deacon is ashamed of the gospel, and that is very, very scary. And here's the other part of the test. If they reject you for telling the truth, you weren't their friend. You were their audience or pet. They didn't want the deacon to be a part of their community. They wanted applause for sinning, and the deacon gave them that. Third, a takeaway for the church. The church must stop sending the message, directly or indirectly, that men have to leave their manhood at the door to serve God. The strongest men in world history were men of God. At the same time, we have to stop confusing manhood with gangster performance. Funny how it's cool when we Christians play gangsta, yet unable to stand up for the rights of most vulnerable. We need to give men a better picture of strength. The modern ideas we see mostly come from television and the movies. John Wayne, Tom Cruise and Superfly are made-up brands, empty shells, just a concept, and furthest plan away from what a man can really become. The clearest picture is Christ himself, the one who holds all power yet bends down to serve. That is not insecurity. That is not weakness. That is absolute confidence and absolute strength. So let me close it like this. That deacon thought he was protecting his reputation by dimming his light. But a lighthouse that turns off its beam to blend in with darkness becomes responsible for the shipwrecks that follow, including its own soul. Will the first words he hears in the afterlife is, "Depart from me, I don't now nor ever knew you"? You're listening to Bullet in Flight Radio. Your story, our station. My brothers, my pastors, my deacons. In conclusion, seek the essence of truth. Being a person who demonstrates integrity is exhibiting holiness, completeness. Please like and share this video with someone who needs to hear this urgent message. Enter this new day with a renewed mind. Remember who you are. If a person lies, they die. By definition. Operating with a lack of integrity, they are fragmented, and are thus not demonstrating true godliness. Be the light. And be tough enough, man enough to let your light shine.
Inside Out on Bullet in Flight Radio. Real discussions with mental wellness professionals.
Man up, be a father, be friend. 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 Not a liar, you'll have nothing in the end. Man up, befriend. Man up, befriend. Bullet inside, fly. Bullet inside, fly. Bullet inside, bullet inside, bullet inside, fly. Bullet inside, fly.
Your story, our station.